What is up, Nerferders? We are back for whatever episode this is. I don't know.
12. I think it's 12.
12. Season 3, episode 12. Man, we've been going at it.
Yeah, we have.
It is a time of confusion because a lot of, you're seeing a lot of news stories in the media right now about stuff reopening. But you're also seeing stuff about not reopening, stuff being delayed, stuff being postponed. Kind of weird to tell, what really kind of hard to follow which thread. How are you doing with that so far, Josh?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's all kind of over the place. Personally, I'm still waiting on New York Comic Con. They are still acting like that's happening, even though, by now, most of the tickets would have been sold out on a normal year. They haven't even released tickets yet. I, as a vendor, am still waiting to hear. I'm not really, I want to go to New York Comic Con, but I'll admit it. I'm afraid of going to something that big right now.
Valid fear.
But I'm waiting to see what they do. If I'm hoping they just say, hey, vendors, we want you to come, but we're going to do it next year. And then I'll give them my money, today. But until then, I'm kind of holding off to see what they say. But there's, I'm just kind of watching how everybody else is doing it. And I'm trying to keep up.
Well, we've got a good source today from inside the industry for cons in general. And Grand Comic Con happens to be a big one here in our state. Probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest in our state. Yeah. And it is Mr. Doug. Go ahead and throw him in here.
Yeah, Doug, come on in. Let me change the
we'll figure out our
banner
scenes
so that you're not cut off. There we go. How you doing, bud? You got to unmute yourself. Can you unmute yourself?
Or do we have to unmute him?
I am unmuted.
There we are.
Now we can hear you. How you doing?
Doing all right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So I saw that the Grand Island Independent put out an article today, officially announcing the new 2021 date for Grand Comic Con. It's going to be March 26th through 28th. Next year. So, I guess now is a good a time as any to announce that. But how do you feel about that date? Are you pretty confident in it? What all came to coming up with that date?
Well, a few factors came into play. Certainly, we want to be optimistic. We hope that we're going to get over the hump and be manageable. First and foremost, we want to make sure that everybody is safe. It's going to be a safe event. So we're booking it that far out. We have traditionally been a March event. So, of course, we took into consideration when Planet Comic-Con was going to reoccur. So that was mid-April. So we looked at our available dates with the Aurora Cooperative Pavilion, where we have our the actual Saturday and Sunday event. And that was really the only weekend that was going to work in March. Don't like to book it too early in March. You never, we're always optimistic about the weather, but you never know what's going to happen in Nebraska in March. So looked like a good date for us. So yeah, the world's not ending as far as we know it. So we're going to plan as if it's everything's going to go on.
I couldn't remember this year. Was Grand Comic Con supposed to happen before Planet Comic Con this year, or was Planet Comic Con? It was.
No, I'm sorry. I'll take that back. I think we're the week after.
Okay, so this year, or so in 2021, it looks like you kind of kick off things with you guys in March, and then Planet's going to come in April, and then kind of everybody else kind of cascades after that. So it seems like some people are going to be looking to you guys this year or next year as the example. So, I mean, does that put any more pressure on your shoulders?
Yeah, we've been honored to have you be a part of our event, Josh. So love having you there. We're not the biggest con in the world, but we're kind of like Reno, Nevada. We like to say we're the biggest little con around. So a lot of fun. We're not trying to go toe to toe with the big events, but it really is a good avenue or a good venue to have for everybody in the Midwest to come.
Yeah. Seth, you haven't been to Grand Comic Con yet, have you?
No, I have not. So I have been actually I've been kind of a bad con goer in my history of all this. Then again, back when I really started paying attention to cons was actually before Grand Comic Con actually had its first, because your first event was only in 2018, correct?
2018, yep.
Okay, so yeah, so I was only just getting started, and I've been in Omaha ever since. So the only cons that I've gotten to outside of here was like one anime focused con in Kansas City, which was NakaCon. But like I've been going a lot more frequently until and 2020 was going to be a big year. Like I was going to put a lot of con attention into 2020, and then of course COVID happened, and now pretty much every event or anything that is still, I want to say, tentatively scheduled for 2020, I am still probably going to have to drop out of. Now, and I imagine that probably would have been the case for any other event. Now, and considering the direction that this pandemic seems to be going, at least here in the United States, are you guys still, is it still kind of like a tentative date as far as March of next year? Are we cautiously optimistic, or do we feel pretty strongly that date will hold through? Like, are there going to be specific measures in place that you guys take to keep the event going?
Well, of course, Grand Comic Con is put on by the Grand Theater. So currently, Grand Theater is closed down, and we're watching that. We're trying to be cautious. It's not something that we need to have open. So that's really kind of our guideline. We're looking at we can pull the trigger anytime. But as far as Comic-Con goes, we are cautiously optimistic. We don't want to say, heck or high water, it's going to happen that date. We just booked it as if it will occur that date, and we will go forward, full forward with all of our planning, all of the events. We'll be trying to book guests. And, I understand people are going to be a little bit cautious. We might have some people that say, hey, you know what, we're going to hold out, and that's fine. We'll do our best on that, but we do plan on opening that weekend, and we're always ready though. If something were to occur and the event will not be safe, then we could always pull back. Unfortunately, that's the realistic outlook that we need to have nowadays with everything. Is just at a moment's notice we need to be flexible. But we are planning. We're putting all of our efforts into this date to make sure it happens.
Now, is it a postponed situation depending on like how close you get to the event and things need to be like, because obviously, I mean, first of all, I commend you for the effort that goes into putting these cons on, because I can only imagine the headaches that go into something with the logistics being as complicated as something like this is. So is there kind of I mean, it's interesting for me to understand like how you guys would sort of handle, like, is there a plan B at some point if say things get closer to that date and like events or ticket sales aren't showing that people are super confident just yet? Or
well, we're really in a unique
situation. They don't even have tickets there.
Yeah, and that's the thing that
open to the public, which is awesome.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so we're a free event to the public, and what we did this year, and Josh can attest to this, we waited until, it was a couple of weeks, and this is right when COVID started ramping up. And so as a group with the board of directors at the Grand, we put that out there. Should we have it? And again, some people were closing down things, some people weren't. We decided to just go ahead and play it safe, go ahead and back out. Everybody was refunded their money. And it's, for us, we're running it as fans. This is not a business that I need to bring in money. So we do have some great sponsors. We have, of course, the vendors that come and they're buying tables, but we're able to refund everybody their money back that put money in. And unfortunately for the fans, we weren't able to have the event, but they're not out any money. So that's one thing. So some of the bigger cons where they have to charge tickets, and a little tough for some people to get their refunds back, or they might have that postponement. They don't have to worry about that with us.
So I mean, that's really good news, and especially a con that's free to the public. That's absolutely wonderful, especially in a situation like this, to where people have probably been on kind of an economic low point for the better part of 2020. That's going to be a big relief to be able to do that. So yeah, a big thank you for offering an event like that. Um, as far as how things got started, like what's kind of the, I mean, like obviously I don't want you to have to go through like the whole history, but like what's kind of like the quick and dirty of how you guys got everything going?
Well, I've always been a fan of sci-fi and comics, things like that. I serve on the board of directors with the Grand Theater, and we put on several events throughout the year. So as a nonprofit entity, we always try and have some fun events for the community. So one thing, we have an annual car show. We had been sponsoring the Prairie Lights Film Festival, which is a Nebraska film festival. And so I was speaking to one of the other board members, and since there are so many superhero movies and sci-fi movies and things that are really promote the Grand, I thought, well, hey, why don't we try and have a Comic-Con? And he thought that was great. Didn't know really anything about it. He didn't know anything about it. I'd been to Comic-Cons, and he said, yeah, let's go ahead and present it to the board. So I presented it to the rest of the board. They were all on board with it, and they said, great, you go ahead and run it. And so it kind of went that way. We didn't know if anybody would come. It was very important to me that we kept it low budget and free to the public. That was the main thing. So since we have access to the Grand, of course, we decided it was a 2-day event. Well, actually a 1-day event with a Friday night opening ceremony, and we had a free movie that first year. And that first year, it was just basically a Saturday event over at the Liederkranz Dance Hall in downtown Grand Island. It's a 100-year-old plus dance hall, one of the oldest buildings in Grand Island. And it's really not set up for this kind of an event, but it was really, it was low cost, a beautiful building. And so we thought, hey, let's just give it a shot. And if we have anybody show up, that'd be great. So we kind of put that in place, and I went to, I think, Des Moines. It was the Icon, I believe, in the fall. That was the first event that I went to that I was kind of seeing if anybody would be interested in coming. And so I talked to some people, didn't think anybody would come over from Iowa or anything like that, and ended up speaking with Phil Hester. And he's like, oh, I know where Grand Island is. That's great. So he was kind of on board tentatively. I'd seen him at other cons. Didn't know him. I was really talking to him with the hope that maybe he knew of somebody in Nebraska that would come the short distance. But he said he would come. And we had Bob Hall as well. And I spoke with Jim Mesling at Des Moines. And Jim thought, no, that he wasn't going to come. And I said, well, one thing I would like to do is maybe kind of an online, if you want to support an online artist. And he said, yeah, I'd be up for that. Well, a few weeks later, he actually contacted me and said, you know what, I'll come to your event as well. So I had 3 industry professionals, and that was great. And we did very little advertising, but I had so many people just contacting me directly, either through the theater or getting a hold of me. We set up a Facebook page, and the response was just overwhelming. I really couldn't believe it. And we had no idea what we were doing. We just, hey, let's throw up a bunch of tables. Didn't know how we were going to set anybody up. And, the first year we didn't even charge for the vendors to come. It was a free event. So, hey, we've got a table for you if you want to come. So we set up that Friday, and I just had people showing up, and it was like, okay, you go over here and set up. And Josh was there, and we had some great some retail vendors. Krypton Comics had Collectible Destination out in Ogallala. We had what would be Behind the Glass over in Lincoln, and some others, Acme Comics. And yeah, everybody ran their own stuff, which was great. We didn't have to direct anybody. And we had that place packed. I don't think we could have fit another table in there. And that was the beautiful thing about it. I mean, we only had probably 4 or 5 volunteers that were working that event. And we're just giving out movie posters and just having fun. We ran it as fans, and it couldn't have gone better.
That's awesome. And it gives me a lot of enthusiasm for the event too, just because, like, obviously when you think of Nebraska, nobody thinks Grand Island, nobody thinks Kearney, nobody thinks about those towns. They think either Lincoln or Omaha. Those are the first 2 towns that come to mind. But like Grand Island and Kearney, especially in that area, the Tri-City area that it actually ended up being called, for me anyway, is really kind of a central hub for. I mean, Kearney's a big college town. You got you've got a very sprawling youth out in that area, and a lot of the events end up getting pulled out here to like Lincoln and Omaha in our area. And yeah, I feel like that's almost kind of a burden, especially for the younger crowd that can't quite afford to run out and spend 3 days in a big city or something like that. And so having something a lot closer by, especially one that's free for them to get into, is just, I mean, I honestly can't think of a event that would be more fan friendly and more fan catered than an event like that.
Well, and again, we run it as fans, so we have a lot of fun with it. And, our philosophy was, if we didn't have to charge tickets, I want everybody, as far as vendors or retailers or creators, to have success. So if we don't charge tickets and people are coming in, well, if you have a family of 4, for example, and they might be spending $80 to get into another event, and that's fine. I don't want to knock those other events, but if they can come into our event, well, they've got $80 that they can spend. They can go to Josh's table and actually talk to the creator, just be right up there, find out what their project is, and find something that really gets them going and what they're excited about. So it's just a lot of fun that way. And again, we have giveaways. We just do really silly stuff, but everybody is happy that's there, and that's all we can ask for.
Well, I've said it before. I think a lot of these medium-sized cons that have been coming up, even the ones that have been around for 5 or 6 years, could learn a lot from how you guys run Grand Comic-Con. I mean, in the 2 years that you've had it, you've already blown up to add a second day to the con. You went over to the that pavilion on the state grounds, and you moved out of your previous building. You've done so much in 2 years. And from a vendor standpoint, it's been nothing but praise from what I've heard. But also from an attendee standpoint, I see some of the same people I see at Planet and at Ocon, and they just, from an attendee perspective, they love Grand Comic-Con. They tell me that is one of their favorite cons to go to, if not, the highlight of their year. So I think that speaks volumes to how you guys treat your people and the things that you've done in such a short time.
Well, and I've got a great group of people that are working with me, and again, we're all volunteers. So these people are passionate about the projects, and they come in. We have one of our volunteers. She runs our Facebook page essentially. I mean, she posts things every day and keeps everything first and foremost in people's minds. And she's a cosplayer as well. And just other people. It's like this has never been an ego-driven project for me. I mean, if anybody comes up to me and says, let's try this. Hey, I'm all for it. Whatever we can do that's fun. And again, we're trying to do some more things this year. We had some plans for this last spring, and unfortunately, we kind of had to put that on hold. But I think what we're going to be looking for next spring, we're able to get a little more room, so we'll be able to have the panels again, and we've got a lot of fun events, and we've got some time to plan it now. So we'll get some things in place and really knock it out of the park.
Well, I think, we were just talking about New York Comic-Con and how I'm unsure if that'll actually happen, but there are cons that are currently going on. I mean, Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo had their event this past weekend, and then Jacksonville had the Collective Con at the Jacksonville Fairgrounds this weekend. I wanted to share this footage with you guys and get some thoughts. This is how they were cleaning their grounds overnight. They had a guy with a disinfectant smoke thing going around and cleaning all of the chairs and the doors and even the trash cans. So I don't know if this would necessarily give me enough faith to go, but at least they were doing something. But yeah, this is they even got the soda machines. This could be a cosplay. Parody. No, this isn't a parody. This is literally how they cleaned their facility between the nights. So I don't think a nightly thing would be enough. But yeah, this is how they cleaned their place so that they could have their cons. So I'm hoping that it gets well past this point that you guys don't have to hire your own Ghostbuster squad to do this kind of stuff. But
yeah, I think if it's that extreme, then it may not happen. Because there are a lot of factors that come into play. I mean, it has to be safe for the fans to come in, but it also has to be safe for the creators and the vendors to come in. And with people traveling 4 hours or more in some cases, speaking with some of my friends out in Western Nebraska, and we thought maybe we could still have a mini con this fall. And I'm not saying that that's not on the table, but again, things have to change. But for it to be financially viable for them to come to this event, I mean, they need to make sure that it's safe, number one, but are the fans going to come out? I mean, some people will bite the bullet and say, hey, I'll come no matter what. But when you're looking at hauling an entire trailer of merchandise in, and if the crowds aren't there, but again, we're very optimistic. We're really hoping that this is going to happen, and so we're going to plan as if it will. And right now, I don't have any doubt about it that it's going to happen. But again, we'll see what the circumstances bring up for us.
Yeah, I would say by March, I would hope that we've gotten things under control, at least to a degree, and we haven't had like a huge resurgence around the next flu season. But
one can hope.
Yeah, one can hope. Are there any names that you can drop as far as early guest announcements, or are we still a little bit too early on in the planning
Just
phase?
a little bit early. And again, people are being a little cautious, but we have reached out to quite a few people, and we're kind of going down the list of people who are going to be here at 2020 and just seeing what their thoughts are. So we get a lot of that back that, hey, it kind of depends. But we're really looking at, hopefully October is when things will start ramping up as far as announcements go. And again, we'll plan on it happening. And if something falls through at the end, we'll play that card at that time. But, again, it just, we'll do everything that we can, plan like it's going to happen.
Seth, I know they have announced this one guy. He wrote the Halcyon Garden. Let me see. Can I put his name on there? He's definitely going to be there for sure. So
I don't know. He seems like a douche.
Well, and I can't tell you how much that means to me, Josh, because Josh, by the way, was our very first last year. As soon as I announced that we were going to be signing up sending out the registration forms, I think he probably had his sent in by the time I finished my announcement. So, so absolutely. And, I've made so many friends, and it's just, for me, it's great because it's kind of like I'm working behind the scenes on all this, and I get to meet and talk to these guys, one-on-one, and, made a lot of friendships with it. So, have a lot of fun with it. And, I really get excited about seeing what projects you guys are coming up with and where it's all going to lead, So it's a lot of fun.
Well, we're happy to have you on here to talk about this, Doug, and I'm happy that you are running things out there. It seems like you and your team have a good mindset about this, and it speaks hope to hopefully the event will happen. But at least we also know that you guys are taking everybody's safety into account, and it's not a greed thing. It's a can we do it, should we do it type thing. But I'm inspired by your optimism and hoping that March 26, 2021, we'll have Grand Comic-Con Part 3.
We are hoping.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. Seth, did you have anything else for Doug before we let him go?
No, I'm all set. Doug, thanks again for jumping into the show. Thanks for being a supporter of our show. We see you. We see your comments pretty frequently. And,
yeah. Sometimes I think they're funnier than how they come out, but it's always worth it.
That's half the things I say. So,
but hey, thank you guys very much for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it. And just have people follow the Grand Comic-Con Facebook page.
Yep.
Yes, definitely.
We wish you the best. And if you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, definitely check them out. I mean, after the long drought that has been 2020, if things are going to be kicking off at March, I'm going to be first in line. I'm ready to go.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk to you later, Doug. Take care.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All the best.
Bye. It was nice having him on.
Yeah, absolutely. I am very hopeful that by the time 2021 comes along, that we have enough of a cap on COVID-19. Like that's quite a few months America. That's quite a few months to get our shit together. Okay, can we
Right. Well,
can we
I
work
think
this out now, please?
I think it's really just, it's really just about, can we have smart people, can we have some smart people to make smart decisions and, put other people first. I think, we were doing so well there for a minute, man. I mean, when all this kicked off in March, I feel like a lot of people took it seriously, and I get it. A lot of people are tired now, but people are starting to relax a little bit too much too quickly. And if the numbers are correct, they're kind of reflecting that relaxation, and things are getting crazy again. And I feel like if we all just bite the bullet, man, and work together, then we could be at a really different place by the time 2021 comes around. But really, it seems like it's not a matter of chance. It's not a matter of hope. It's a matter of people doing their individual responsibility, and everybody working towards that. And if we don't work towards that, we're working against it. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, I think the words that were used fit it perfectly. It's cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Because obviously we don't want to get our hopes up too high and then end up having them dashed.
Sure.
But yeah,
But it's good to put a date out there. It's good to put
yeah,
a foot forward
absolutely.
and say, we want to put our eyes towards that future date. And it's not like they were Tenet and putting it a week out every 2 weeks. Like, hey, we're gonna move it out a week. We'll see what happens.
I mean, I feel so bad for Christopher Nolan in that situation, but at the same time, for those who have not been brought up to date, we have talked about Tenet a few times on the show, not because we feel like it's going to be a good movie. I have absolutely no idea if it's going to be a good movie. It's a Nolan film, so
I have faith. I have faith.
It is a Nolan film, so I have every reason to believe that it will be good. But so at first, when announced dates were getting delayed, Nolan was kind of throwing a fit, and at least that's how it sounded. Maybe that's just how Warner Brothers wanted it to sound, but that's how it sounded. Throwing a fit, saying that he wanted Tenet to be the first film to come back after theaters reopened. He wanted his movie. He wanted Tenet to be the movie to see when theaters reopened. And
I mean, originally that's how it was going to be, because
yeah, it sounded good.
Tenet was July 17th. That wasn't a rescheduled date. That was their original date. And
Yep.
every other big film before then had pushed out. And back in early May, July felt like a good date for things to come back, because things were, that curve was flattening. Things were looking good. The deeper we got into May, the deeper we got into June, those numbers started getting all crazy again. And the idea that Tenet, then Tenet got pushed back to late July, and then it got pushed back to mid-August. And yeah, we've seen some things that, that Warner Brothers and Nolan might have been clashing about whether or not to release the movie or push it back again. And I get it, man. He wants his movie to come out, and he's got some pull over there, obviously.
I mean, it could have been purely a business decision. He's like, you know what? People are going to be thirsty to get back into the theater after all this. It's like, let's do it. I mean, why not? Why not jump in there? And well, not even jump in there. Why not just leave the date where it's at? And hopefully theaters reopen. I mean, even at this point, it seems unclear, but I would hope that theaters are reopened at that point. But yeah, and now, like you kind of had more of a handle on this as far as what caused it, but it sounded like China decided to put something new in place to where no films over 2 hours.
Yeah, so China, they've been back and forth, man. We've heard China's opening back up their theaters. China's closing back their theaters. China's opening their theaters again. China's closing their theaters again. China at least has been trying. They've been trying to open things. Whether or not they've been, trying to force those doors open a little too early than they should have, but they've been trying to do that for a minute here. And their most recent announcement was, okay, we're going to open we're going to open theaters, but we're going to have we're only going to show movies that are under 2 hours. They want to get people in there, and then they want to get people out, and then they want to clean the theaters. So they announced today that, hey, if your movie is coming out and it's under 2 hours, perfect. If it's over 2 hours, we're not going to show it. And Tenet is over 2 hours, which actually most films are. I mean, 2 hours.
Yeah, that's not an unusual time for
Right.
a film.
3 hours is a lot. 2.5 hours is a lot, but usually 2 hours and 15 minutes is kind of like standard nowadays.
Let me say this now, though, because China has to edit a lot of their movies, so maybe the stuff that they cut out just shrinks it down to under 2 hours all the time. Anyway, so like, no big deal.
Yeah. Well, apparently, that came out this morning that China was going to limit there, and then everybody. I mean, it was a part of every headline. It wasn't just a headline about China theaters. It was, so how is this going to impact Tenet? Because this is another hurdle for Tenet. And then, so I sent you the link to this story, and in a matter of minutes, there was another story that popped up that said, Warner Brothers calls it, they're going to delay this movie indefinitely. And that word sounds crazy, but in relevance to what's going on, it's really not.
Well, it's kind of what we wanted to have happen. Like that, like they kept on delaying it and delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. But they were only delaying it by like a few weeks to a month at a time. So it was like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, why just hold it. Just hold it off. Like, stop playing this game. Like
stop
clearly
spending money. Stop announcing new things. Just hold it. In fact, hold it ransom, man, because apparently more things need to be taken away for people to wake up and say, hey, we need to make better personal decisions. And if you start holding things ransom like this movie, maybe that'll be the kicker. But yeah, so like basically they're delaying it until whenever, until things open back up. And I assume once things do, this will be one of the first movies to come back. It's not like it's going to go sit on a shelf somewhere like Cabin in the Woods did for a couple of years. They're going to put it out as soon as they can. And they might even look for some non-traditional releases, which is going to piss off Nolan even more because he loves the theater and he fights for the theater. And if Warner Brothers even talks about something that involves not theaters, you're going to make that man, self-combust. So, I don't know what's going to happen, but, it was bound to happen. It was bound to happen that this was going to get delayed again.
Yeah. And honestly, this is kind of the state that America is in right now with everything. This is really just kind of like Tenet has almost kind of become like a metaphor for reopening America and getting back to normal. It's just like, nope, delayed again. Sorry. COVID's being dumb. People are being dumb about COVID. We're delaying it again. We're delaying it again. And that is all the proof that I need to know that this isn't some sort of government conspiracy, because everything is losing money right now. Everything is losing money right now. And so like, it doesn't make sense that would be the ignorance to science or ignorance to medical safety would, like, it's just the longer you don't wear a mask, the longer you aren't going to get Tenet. Like, and by Tenet, I mean fucking anything.
Well, and I love Nolan, and I love that he supports the theaters, and I love that he supports film, and he is a great filmmaker. He's a great filmmaker.
Oh, he's an idol of mine, 100%.
And of course, this could be the news making him out to be more than he is, making it a bigger deal than it is. But when I hear about him pushing back and like trying to, look, you need to release this movie, I just want to step in and be like, have you not seen that Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 84 has been delayed like crazy amount? Because it was supposed to come out in November of last year. That movie has been done for over 2 years at this point, and they've been trying to release it.
We've got
and that was
Disney Plus series getting delayed. I mean, we got
yes, but
Falcon
I
and Winter
mean,
Soldier got pushed out.
Wonder Woman
A streaming
got
service.
delayed before COVID, and it got pushed. It got pushed before COVID for other things. So, if anything, those people in the Patty Jenkins and Wonder Woman camp is being hella more patient and understanding than Christopher Nolan is right now, because they were supposed to release last year. You
I
were
haven't heard
still
shit out of
editing your
them.
movie.
Like,
Yeah.
I haven't heard
Yeah.
a word out of them. They've been,
Because what are they going to say? Because anything they say sounds selfish and sounds like, you are more invested in your movie than the health of people. And I know that's not what Christopher Nolan is all about, but
no.
this is how you should do it. You should just delay it indefinitely, and then when it's safe, you release it instead of keep on adding more dates, and then you don't miss those. Then you don't make those dates. The more times you announce something, the quicker it is people are going to forget about it, honestly.
And I can tell you though, when the floodgates open and like theaters do open back up, things are safe again. I mean, it's literally that the floodgates are going to open.
Yeah.
And I know that there are going to be theaters who are going to try and do like a soft open. I know that there are small town theaters that are already open that
Right, there are.
don't have huge populations of people to worry about. They're able to clean effectively.
Yeah.
Maybe we see them getting a hold of these films ahead of time instead of in like these bigger cities. They're going to release them into these smaller towns. I don't know that would be the smartest move, because then you might see, for some like diehard film fans, you might see some people like migrating to those towns just to see the film and then bailing back out. But like
So this
the theater industry is crippled at the moment, and I can absolutely understand Nolan being like, you know what? No, I don't. Any filmmaker should be in his exact same shoes, being like, hey, we don't even know if it was Nolan who was saying is like, it absolutely has to be this date. It might have just been, if theaters are going to be open by this date, I want my movie to stay on this date.
Mhm.
And it would be like he could absolutely be 100% for public safety, because it was like, nobody's going to see your movie if they're dead.
Right.
So,
Exactly. But
but
to your credit, what you were just saying about releasing it in some places as they open, it seems like that might actually be what they're considering,
yeah,
because Screen Daily put out an article a couple hours ago saying that Warner Brothers is they are working on a non-traditional global release as it
yep,
maintains our commitment to the theatrical experience around the world. So they're vacating the dates for America. That might not mean that they vacate the dates for everywhere across the world. If it's better, and they say our goals throughout this process have been to ensure the highest odds of success for our films, while also being ready to support our theater partners with new content as soon as they can safely open. So you got to remember, they're in it to make money. They made an investment into this movie. They're not going to release it if they're not going to make money. But if there's other venues that are open outside of the US, then they might release it in there. And that's not a uncommon thing. Sometimes movies release in Europe before they release here. Sometimes they release here months before they release in Europe. So
absolutely.
if anything, America, get off your ass and let's let's flatten that curve again so we can see movies.
I can tell you that's not going to happen, because you
I
know
know.
what's going to happen. They're going to get released in these other areas, and the piracy market is going to skyrocket.
That is true, but when
Like,
outside
it's what
of
sucks.
COVID, when that has happened, people have still gone to see the movies when it.
Oh
and
yeah,
I've
absolutely.
seen
Yeah.
I've seen people in the UK being like, "Gosh darn it, don't talk about that movie because we don't get it for another 3 weeks." But then they do go see it. So I'm sure
Yeah.
piracy will happen, but I think it'll happen at a smaller scale than if it was released digitally. Because then at least the only piracy you're going to get is if somebody goes in and films it. It's not going to be as clean a cut as if they released it digitally and then someone can just screen record. I think that limits it a little bit.
I feel like it's going to be the opposite if they're releasing
Really?
this stuff exclusively outside of America, because piracy
Oh,
is
just because of the exclusive? Yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense.
piracy is especially prevalent in the United States. And so
Right now, for sure.
especially right now. And so especially if you're going to see these like big hyped up movies, like if they release Wonder Woman outside of the country first, there's going to be a piracy problem. But like, even if that was an option, I would still wait for the theatrical release because it's about the experience. It's not just about seeing the
For
film.
sure.
Um,
For sure.
I like, honestly, like, I can't remember the last time I pirated a piece of media because you're not seeing it the way that the artist intended for it. You're
Mhm.
probably not seeing it in the right quality. They're the worst, sometimes even the best pirates out there who were able to sneak like a good camera in there. It still sounds like shit.
Oh
So
yeah, for
like,
sure.
then again, I'm
Or
speaking
every once
from
in a while they go down under the seats. And
yeah.
they come out.
Then
I
again, I'm
know this
speaking
because
from like 10-year-old piracy experience because it's been so long since I used to do that. But
oh yeah, me too. That was me in the military when I was overseas. The Korean market
it's the
outside
only
of our
way you
base.
could get it. Like,
Yeah, that's how they would sell it on DVD, but it would just be somebody ripped the recording. But yeah, that
yeah.
was 2009. But yeah, I would never watch a movie like that, especially not a Nolan movie, because that'd be insane. That would just destroy the experience.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to mention, I know that we had this in our show notes, but I'm going to mention this is kind of part of the same thing because it really is. I mean, we're seeing the MCU delays for the Disney Plus series. There was some rumored delays about WandaVision, but we have now found out that that is not the case.
Mm-hmm.
It is still slated for late this year, but Falcon and Winter Soldier got pushed back, and obviously Black Widow has already been pushed back once. We'll see if it gets pushed back again.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to kind of jump over that one because we're already kind of running long on this episode, and I don't know that we're going to have a whole lot of new news here. Honestly, like this is the state that we are in because honestly, and I know that these are just like fringe occasions to where you're seeing people who are like freaking out with conspiracy theories around COVID. It's not everybody who's like that. But when that stuff goes viral, everybody's seeing it and everybody has an opinion on it, and it sounds like it's a bigger issue than it is. But it's still a big enough issue to where normal daily life is being interrupted severely, and then non-normal daily life, or the non-daily normal life, is being affected as well. So some of the most anticipated content for me anyway this year has still not happened. It's going to be a while before it happens.
Well, I mean, this just speaks to how nothing that they could have done about it, but how terrible timing it was to release Disney Plus this year. Like the fall, what was it, October or November of last year when Disney Plus launched, they were like, this is what you have coming to you. Not Black Widow. Black Widow was supposed to be in the theaters, but they were like, Winter Soldier's coming by the summer or August, and then WandaVision's coming by fall or end
like
of 2021. And so we have Black Widow, which is still Black Widow's in. I don't know if there's an actual date for Black Widow right now. That
Black
could be
Widow's in
indefinite,
limbo,
which is crazy because it's done. But Falcon Winter Soldier got pushed from August, and people are wondering, well, is that just because they were done, or because they weren't done because they still had 9 more days of filming apparently that they had to do. And that could have been in any sequential order. They could be filming the first episode on those final 9 days. But if they weren't, people were speculating, well, maybe Black Widow needs to release first because there's things that tie in. And they're also saying WandaVision, while it hasn't officially been delayed yet, if there's things from Falcon and Winter Soldier that tie into WandaVision, that likely means that WandaVision will be further pushed out. But they technically aren't supposed to release till late fall or early winter, so who knows about that yet. But it's just sucks for Disney Plus because they had these big things, and here you have Netflix over here releasing a new big movie every week. They just had the Charlize Theron movie that we reviewed, The Old Guard, a week ago. They've got that new Jamie Foxx movie coming out like in a 2 weeks. And of course they just had this lined up. It wasn't necessarily COVID that put those things into play, but they're just churning it out, and Disney Plus can't catch a break.
Well, and I got to tell you that like another bit, this was going to be in the lightning round, but it's actually prevalent to what we're talking about right now. I was going to talk about some like streaming services and what content they're going to have available.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the first 3 Jurassic Park films are going to be on Netflix starting August 1st. Which I don't like. I know that's not that big of a deal, but they're the Jurassic Park movies. It's like,
Again, I
like
mean, it's more content.
again, it's Netflix, and right now they're on the peak. They're on Peacock, which I don't have Peacock. I don't care about Peacock. I'm not getting Peacock.
Although Peacock's free, which is interesting. It's the first one to release free.
Sure,
with
yeah,
ads.
it's free with ads, but
Yeah.
But I
yeah, I
don't
don't
want to
have
watch
an
ads. I pay money, so I don't have to watch ads.
Right.
But another another thing that this kind of leads into that was also going to be in the lightning round. Things are just moving organically
You want to
today.
just
You know?
move to lightning round?
You know what? Things are just moving organically today. We're just gonna keep
Let's
going.
Do it. Let's just do it. Lightning round. Here we go.
But I've got more bad news for HBO Max.
Oh gosh.
Depending on how you look at it. So right now, HBO Max has every single Harry Potter film, and they're going to be losing those in late August. So,
oh my gosh.
How old is HBO Max now? At that point, by that time, only a few months.
And that's been like the signature thing on their main page too. They have a whole Harry Potter dedicated section. What is the deal, man? What is the point of this? Like, I understand that HBO Now still exists. And HBO Now has its own rights. But HBO Max should be as it's sold as a separate entity. HBO Now and HBO Now and HBO Max are not the same thing. So I understand one losing it, but the other was supposed to be where everything is. So I don't. I mean,
let me just. I'm just gonna rattle off some names of some other films that they're losing by the end of August, because all the Harry Potter films are gone on the 25th of August.
Okay.
But some other films. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the director's cut, gone August. Dumb and Dumber, love that movie. Guilty pleasure movie. Full Metal Jacket, Good Will Hunting. John Wick Chapter 3, gone. Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, gone. Love Actually, gone. Megamind, Monsters vs. Aliens, gone. Like, just like there's some big films in here.
Films replacing these big films, or is it just losing films?
I don't know, probably, but there's a lot of these that are just like, this is just a list off of the streamable.com, which is a really effective website if you're looking for a service, like if you're looking to find a movie and see if it's on a streaming service. You can pop into that right there. So like if I just search Jurassic Park on the streamable, as soon as it pops up, it'll actually give you a it's their channel finder. And so like it's just a great resource. But yeah, they come out with articles every now and then listing off stuff that's coming, and like HBO Max is just taking another hit. I'm finding it hilarious.
I can hear the defenders saying, guys, why are you bashing on HBO Max for doing what Netflix has done for years? Netflix, unless it's a Netflix original, and even sometimes when it is a Netflix original, it doesn't always stay on Netflix. They lose the rights to things all the time, like Friends and things like that.
Yeah, but we're also talking about a huge established library on Netflix.
Right.
That stands on its own feet now.
That is Netflix's that was their demo. Like, now their demo is original content. All these places, when they 2-3 years ago, when they started saying, hey, we're actually going to make our own, we're going to try to beat Netflix at its own game, Netflix started spending money on their own content. Now they have a massive original library content, and they've got films coming out every week. That's kind of Peacock's and HBO's fault for telling them that's what they were going to do. But then Disney Plus and HBO comes out and says, we're going to have our own personal library. It's not going to be like Netflix. It's going to be, you don't even need to buy a Warner Brothers film anymore because it's all going to be here. And now that's not being the case. Warner Brothers is just a knockoff Netflix, and they can't even hold on to their own stuff for longer than a month. So it's like, I mean, I dropped them. I'll pick him back up when Zack Snyder's cut comes out. And there was a great interview that Zack Snyder did with Grace Randolph this morning, or Rudolph, or I think it's Randolph, on Beyond the Trailer. But I'll pick it up for that. But otherwise, I have no need to pay them because anything that I want to watch on there, anything that's on my list might not be there in 20 days. So what's the point?
Well, I mean, you can cancel anytime. So, I mean, if you really want to come from that, you can cancel at any point. But yeah, it's just not another streaming service that I need to add on to.
No, not right
Moving on, as we mentioned in our Tenet story, Chinese cinemas are opening back up on a limited basis. So movie theaters in cities across China opened their doors to the public for the first time in 6 months on Monday. They have to follow. It's only cinemas in low risk areas, and they have to follow a new array of safety protocols. So, I mean, as we expected. But ticket sales for the day were just shy of $500,000 at around 8:30 p.m. local Chinese time. Just one new film, a local drama, was released Monday, with most cinemas showing re-releases like Disney's Coco or local blockbuster Wolf Warrior 2, which, it's not necessarily media that we're familiar with, but
what is Wolf Warrior 2? What is Wolf Warrior 1?
Yeah. I mean, jumping
Wolf
into the
Warrior
foreign film
2
market.
is a 2017 film. Oh, geez. Okay. Well, heck, they're making money off of. I'm sure that 2017 film is like, heck yeah.
Well, and I think it's important to note here that China locked down hard. They locked down to the extreme, and they are just now reopening theaters on a limited release, on a limited basis.
Well,
And
this is like the third or fourth time they've released their theaters. But I mean, I don't.
And they're still it's still only in low impact areas.
Everybody in the world right now is looking at China, and some of them from a kind of a racist standpoint. Other of them just like seeing how China deals with things. So China's kind of like, if are they opening? Should the rest of everybody open up? Are they still locked down? Should everybody else still be locked down? So I commend them. At least it seems like this round of reopenings, they're being a little slower with it. Hopefully, this is a successful reopen and things don't spike and they have to close things down again.
Well, I mean, time will tell, but we're kind of hoping for the same thing. And then I wanted to give a small nod because I found it is such a weird coincidence that the story came up the exact day after I watched this. But so Jaws was on one of my streaming platforms. I don't remember which one it showed up on, but like when I'm scrolling through things to watch, Jaws showed up, and whenever I see Jaws, I watch Jaws. Jaws is such a good movie. It's just ridiculous. But
Classic.
So this story came up on Bloody Disgusting. It's Return of the Orca. The iconic Jaws boat is being rebuilt for shark conservation efforts. So they're so the original ship used in Spielberg's Jaws was destroyed decades ago, but we've learned this week that the iconic Orca is being rebuilt from the ground up by its original creators. Return of the Orca will bring the legendary boat back to life for a good cause with an Indiegogo campaign launched to help make it all happen. And that's I just wanted to give a small nod to that you might see that again here because it's just getting started. But yeah, there's an Indiegogo campaign to rebuild the boat from Jaws, and I think extra proceeds are going to go towards shark conservation. Which, if you're not familiar with the shit that sharks go through, or you've only viewed sharks as horror monsters, should definitely take a look at maybe the shark finning industry or just the batshit crazy stuff that has happened to their populations in recent years. It's worse than COVID as far as the sharks are concerned. So
isn't this like the year, like the 45th year anniversary? I could have swore I saw Life magazine the other day that said 45th anniversary of Jaws.
So yes, the film came out in 75. So yeah.
We're talking 5 years till the big 50.
Yeah. And the movie still stands up. I just watched it yesterday again, and I mean I've watched it so many times that I have it on the background. Oh God, I will say Jaws: The Revenge is way worse than Jaws 3D.
Is it?
Oh, Jaws: The Revenge or Jaws 4. Oh dear.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Oh
if
my
it came
God.
after Jaws 3D, I'm sure it is.
Oh,
I can't remember anything past Jaws, honestly.
Oh my God, dude! Jaws 4 is embarrassing. So they have like the original actress who played Brody's wife from the first two films. he decided not to be a part of Jaws 3 or 4. Thankfully enough, like he saw 3, he's like, no, this is garbage, not doing it. I don't know if that changed the story that they were going through for, but he decided not to do 4 either, even though they were trying to go with the original actress who played his wife. And he was like, nah. So they just explained him away and saying that he died of a heart attack. But during like a heated argument after another member of the family is killed by a shark, another fucking shark kills another member of the Brody family because for some reason the Brody family just can't get away from sharks.
Yeah, no, they're being targeted by sharks.
Yeah, she has a belief in the film that he did not die of a heart attack. He died of the fear of the shark. He died the fear of sharks. She has like a telepathic connection with the shark. It's really weird. Like she knows when the shark's fucking shit up.
She's got shark sense.
She's got some weird shark sense that's weird. Michael Caine is in the movie, which is really weird. The movie is like
this film.
Like, oh my god, it's bad. Like, so as it turns out, it was one of Michael Caine's like paycheck films. He just mailed it in for that one. But he had an Oscar win. I can't remember what the movie was. I didn't look it up, but he had an Oscar win around the same time. He couldn't take his Oscar in person because of his appearance in this film. He was getting just shit on like crazy for Jaws 4. It's that bad. It's that bad. The dialogue is fucking awful. When they kill the shark, they rip off the scene of him like bloodily sinking into the water from the first film.
Really?
Like they use the same shot. They use the same fucking shot. Yeah, yeah. Notice how the top half of his shirt is dry.
Well, it hasn't gotten in the water yet.
No. There's a part in the movie where he's literally like he's a pilot and his like plane gets like chucked, like he dives into the water to get away from the shark. And in the exact same scene, like he escapes, he gets out alive, but he's lifted out of the boat and his clothes are completely dry. like he just got pulled out of the fucking water and his clothes are completely dry.
That's
like there's so many things to shit on in that movie. It's ridiculous. Like they speed up a bunch of random shots. It looks really fucking bad.
Sounds like you have a personal issue with this film.
I have the same complaints about Jaws 3D. Like Jaws 1, perfect. Jaws 2, great with flaws. 3 and 4, absolute dog shit garbage.
Dumpster fire.
Absolute dog shit garbage. It's just ridiculous. Oh, and the tagline for the movie is hilarious. It says, Jaws the Revenge. This time it's personal.
Well, apparently, if they're targeting the Brody family, it sounds like it is. I don't know how it gets personal for sharks, but I guess.
It follows them from Amity Island to the Bahamas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It must be personal. That's a long trek.
Yeah, follows them. Like they leave Amity Island. They're like, we're done with this shit. They leave Amity Island. And it fucking shows up again. And out of all places, she's trying to escape this shark. Hey, maybe we should go somewhere that's landlocked. No, let's go to the fucking Bahamas where it's all islands and boat travel. Maybe that'll be a good idea.
Well, listen, if anything, Sharknado has shown us that landlocked doesn't protect you from sharks. God. So, and they have six of those documentary films to show that landlocked doesn't mean shit. So
don't even get me started on those abortions of movies.
Was that it for your lightning round?
That's it for my lightning round. it was kind of light today. Like I told you before we started recording, there was a lot of political bullshit going around today, and I don't care about Jeffree Star or Nicki Minaj having a baby. It was like I don't care. I'm sorry, Twitter. I don't give a shit. Like
I'm so glad that you don't. This is why we're friends.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we wanted to end the show with a little chat about Paul Verhoeven. He turned 82 over the weekend, and so I thought it would be fun to wish him a belated happy birthday, but also kind of talk about what our favorite films of his are, or your top film of his, because he's done. As you can, I think these are probably his top 4 biggest money makers in the background: RoboCop, Starship Troopers, Showgirls, which is weird because that really doesn't fit in with the other ones, and then Total
No.
Recall.
So
But
I mean, it's a tie for me between like RoboCop and Total Recall, because they're both. I mean, they're both kind of iconic in the way. Like, I mean, can you think of a more iconic '80s sci-fi movie out of his repertoire that isn't like can you think of any like let's think of this a better way. Can you think of a lot of sci-fi movies that don't have a reference to one or the other, at least at some point? Like there's
well,
always
I
a
think
slight nod
yeah,
to something like that. And both have
RoboCop
had
is
remakes
definitely
recently. Not
yeah.
recently, but
RoboCop is definitely his biggest movie.
yeah.
Basic Instinct wasn't on this list, but that's also another big movie of his.
I fucking
Um,
hated Basic Instinct.
I know you did, but it was a huge movie in '92, and then Hollow Man was also a movie of his, and that was
That was okay.
that was big in 2000. That was the last kind of attempt at in the Invisible Man before their most recent one this year. But I think
Showgirls is probably the best movie of all time.
oh gosh, in opposite world maybe, but
No, dude. So it had been mentioned in more than one Joe Rogan podcast that both of them, he was talking about Scientology and Battlefield Earth would come up. He was talking
yeah.
about how Battlefield Earth was like a great unintentional comedy, like it was so bad that it was good.
Oh, for sure.
And he almost inevitably in both situations he always compared it to Showgirls, how it's just an absolute dog shit movie, but it was so bad that it became hilarious. And and so that was why I watched it. Like I had never heard of it before, so I watched it, and oh my god, it is fucking terrible. It is
Who is
so
this girl
bad.
from? Isn't she from Saved by the Bell? Isn't that her? Like everybody was shocked that the girl from I'm pretty sure that's her. She's the one that has like the caffeine freak out where she's singing the song. You know what I'm talking about? Did you ever see Saved by the
Sorry, I wasn't a Saved by the Bell watcher.
Bell? There's an episode where she takes caffeine pills and she can't stop screaming like some song, and like she just says it and says it and says it, and it's supposed to be she's saying I'm so excited, and she like has
Elizabeth Berkley.
It's a freak out, and the dude's like trying to get her to stop, and it was like an analogy for crack or whatever. But
she had like there was a sex scene in a hot tub where she's basically having a seizure, and he's still just going. It's like you can't tell if she's like, and it's the most famous scene in the movie. Like when people mention Showgirls, this is the scene they're talking about. But she's just having like a
physics are all wrong with the scene. There's a lot of things wrong with the scene.
I don't know what happened to make him go downhill with that, or if he was like trying to make it.
Yeah,
hilarious.
How did he get from these other 3 films to that one? Like
Don't know.
RoboCop was an excellent satire-filled sci-fi film. Total Recall, I don't remember the satire as much. I'm sure it's in there. Great sci-fi film. Starship Troopers was loaded with satire and propaganda in there. And then you have Showgirls. So I don't know.
So yeah, Elizabeth Berkley. Yeah, she was the Saved by the Bell girl. So
yeah. I mean, I agree that RoboCop is probably his biggest film and best film. To me, my favorite film of his is Starship Troopers. I can watch that movie over and over and over again. I don't really care for the sequels, although I did like some of the animated sequels. It's got like 5 movies now. I think 2 of them are animated sequels. But that film, I just watched it again 2 weeks ago. I thought it held up for the most part. The graphics held up. They used miniatures for a lot of the shots. The bugs still look good. Because how long ago did that film come out?
it
came out in 1997, man. So for a movie with CGI to still look good since 1997, 23 years later, that's impressive to me. So I love that film to death. That's my favorite film by him, but I certainly appreciate a lot of his other films.
Well, and honestly, the RoboCop was like the first R-rated film I think that I saw as a kid.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So like, and I watched it. I watched it on TV. It was on cable TV, so it wasn't like the RR rated version of it. Obviously, like it was like the censored for TV version of it.
Sure.
I think it was on the channel that Sci-Fi ended up turning into, or if it might have been Sci-Fi already at that point. Sci-Fi is an old channel.
Yeah,
but
it's gone through a lot of changes for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but it had some. It was a. It was an interesting experience because I remember thinking it was just awesome. Like it was just amazing. Like he's calculating bullet ricochets to blow people's heads off, and like I didn't understand any of like the emotional implications of it at the time because I was only like 10, so it was like, oh, it's his wife, whatever, get to the blowy uppy crap and all that stuff.
You probably didn't recognize the satire in it.
Or no, none of that.
Like
yeah. But yeah, and then I watched it recently and I was just like, wow, I'm not as impressed with this movie as I was when I was a kid. It's still good. Like it's still an entertaining film to watch, but yeah, that was a. What are you showing us here?
I'm trying to pull it up. I got a high res version of the poster there because it's an epic poster.
I thought you were going to show us your Pornhub folder or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to show you.
Like, hey, whoops! No, not intentionally. I was worried that was going to be a problem. I was going to have to start shouting at you or something.
Yeah, no, this is. I mean, you can't. This is iconic imagery. I mean, I just wanted to blow up the whole thing. I mean, just the the movies, the toys that they sold off this, this and like the Terminator toys were huge back in the day, and I remember knowing this image years before I was allowed to watch the movie because it was rated R. This was iconic. They even had an animated kids version of this, like a RoboCop cartoon. So.
And then Irvin Kershner came in with the second one and fucked it into the ground.
RoboCop 2. RoboCop 2 is better than RoboCop 3.
Yeah, but when you've got the bar of RoboCop 2, you're like, oh.
Sure.
They were like, hey, we can do better than this. No, you can't.
Well, and I think some people just misunderstood it too. I mean, there's a lot of people that still don't get the satire behind these films. And the point of them, I know people that watch Starship Troopers and the whole, service earns citizenship and stuff like that, and all the propaganda that's in it. They're like, this is legit. This is how it should be. And I'm like, that's not the point of the film or the book. And the book was more heavy on the propaganda parts, but he had an eye for directing some great stuff, and especially with RoboCop and Total Recall back in the day, really pushing the limits on what people expected from films. I mean, RoboCop got crazy violent, and so did Total Recall. Total Recall got crazy violent too, so he wasn't afraid of violence, that's for certain.
Yeah, and that's what sucks about Total Recall, though, is because the only thing people remember out of it is the chick with 3 tits.
Yeah,
like I mean, that would have been a thing that I would have cut out of my movie just so I didn't have to deal with people bringing that shit up over time.
I mean, it's what most people think about. And
you're making me wish I had 3 hands. Shut the fuck up.
And these two, the end caps here, Total Recall and RoboCop, like you said, got remakes. A Total Recall remake with what's his face?
Kate Beckinsale and man, what's his name?
And
he's an Irish actor.
Yeah, Colin Farrell.
Yes, Colin Farrell.
There's the director's cut of it is long as fuck, but I really liked it. I actually enjoyed
the director's cut was good.
I enjoyed the director's cut a lot. Kate Beckinsale and Jessica Biel. Jessica Biel was like the opposite of Kate Beckinsale in that movie. I thought that movie, the director's cut was great. The theatrical cut, not good. RoboCop, I wanted to like the sequel so much because it had Joel Kinnaman in it, and I really like him. He's been acting in Europe for a long time. I think he made his big debut in America with the the show is it's not called The Fall, it's called The Killing, and he's a great actor. He keeps on getting these shit English roles. Like RoboCop just was not that good, even though they had a great cast around him. And then he got sidestepped in Suicide Squad when they, brought him on as the main character, but then built the film around Will Smith. He keeps getting shit roles. But did you like the RoboCop remake?
So I I feel like it really struggled. Like this was a major critique that a lot of people had, but I feel like it really lost out by having a PG-13 rating instead of the R rating. Because that was
just in violence, or what about an R rating do you think would have made it that much different?
so the big part of RoboCop was just how gritty and dark it actually was, and I feel like they probably could have pulled that off with a PG-13 rating, if not just a little bit watered down. But I feel like if they had the R rating, like if they had it in mind that they had the option of having an R rating ahead of time, they would have been like, all right, we're pulling out the stops. Like we're going to make it as violent as we can without making it overly violent. We're going to stick true to what RoboCop was, because all three of them were R rated and like ridiculously violent. And then this remake they come out with, and it's like, hey, our expectations are for a violent movie, but like, and with first of all, the effects in one were okay. I mean, they definitely don't hold up now. Two and three's effects are two and threes are fucking garbage, but
they're bad.
Like, and so we like a lot when you see a remake, you want to see something that improves on that. Adds and improves on the good stuff that the movie did, and then severely fixes the shit that it did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie didn't cut that for me quite as much. I mean, obviously the effects were better, but it didn't like add into what was already good about the movie.
They had Samuel L. Jackson bring in the satire parts, the political commentary, which I felt was good. I think they wanted to make it dark and gritty, but instead of writing a dark and gritty story, they just made his suit black, and that's not how it works. I think everybody was like, "What? His suit black?" Like it. There was a time when everything was like, "Want to make it cool? Paint it in black," And granted, Batman line, but it doesn't work with everything, especially not with something as iconic as this imagery. And you had good casting with Keaton in there, but it wasn't a great story. It could have been better, and it wasn't, sadly.
And again, I feel like that was because they were restricted. I feel like that was because they were restricted by the rating that they were given.
Probably, but that is the struggle that every studio has nowadays. Either can they truly invest in an R-rated film that's not Deadpool, and make money off of it? When at least in America, an R-rated film supposedly cuts out a lot of viewers. Although I see people bring their kids into R-rated films all the time, but
it's like parents that just want you to know, if you're buying M-rated games for your 10-year-old, he's seeing worse than most R-rated films will show him.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've been playing speaking of games, I finally started playing Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus on Switch.
The Wolfenstein. Hearing that Wolfenstein is involved with Nintendo in any way, shape, or form is kind of funny, because it's supposed to be the family-friendly console.
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't get it initially, because they were like no mature games, and now they have Wolfenstein 2 on there.
They changed their tune real quick.
Well, Hollywood, if you're listening, Starship Troopers, don't touch it. It's a great film. I believe it still holds up 23 years later. Showgirls, I know you already did a sequel. There is a Showgirls 2 out there. Thankfully, Paul had nothing to do with it, but we don't need a Showgirls remake. We really don't need it. Please don't.
Or do, and just make it like you're like fully aware of what it's going to be at that point. It's be like, hey, we're gonna make this awful movie, and we're not going to try, because if we try to make it awful, it's not going to be awful in a funny way. Like,
yeah.
we're just going to make this and not care, because it's basically that had to have been how they made the first one. Like, he must have just been paid, and like he let the rest of the people, it was like, just do whatever you want. Okay. Because I can't believe that this man was involved with that film heavily.
Well,
I haven't
he's
done the research.
still kicking. He just completed a film for 2021 called Benedetta, and he's also working on a TV miniseries called Bellamy that's in pre-production right now. So his last released movie was Elle in 2016. So this dude is still working. Just turned 82 over the weekend. Congratulations.
Happy birthday. Sorry for shitting on Showgirls.
Yeah, sorry, bud.
But also not sorry.
We can't be the first ones that did.
He's heard it before.
Yeah, he's definitely heard it before.
Well, with that, do you have any final thoughts for today?
No, man, I think that was a good episode. I'm so glad we had Doug on earlier. Always happy to give Grand Comic Con a shout, and that was some good news, followed by a ton of just not great news.
Yeah, welcome to the N.A.P.
We have one thing to look forward to right now, and it's Grand Comic Con.
Some good news and a shitload of bad news.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Nerdferders, for tuning in on this episode. We will be back again later this week, I hope. I'm thinking. So far, it seems like everything with my schedule is going to be pretty normalized, at least for the time being. But we'll have another episode coming at you here before too terrible long. Don't forget to follow us on social media so you can be a part of the conversation or hit us with topics ahead of time. And check us in the comments down below. Let us know what you thought of today's episode. Talk in response. Be a part of the conversation. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, so you don't have to worry about missing anything else. And we will catch you again soon.
See ya.
It's like the longest sign off ever.